The plasma bolt tore through the air with a shriek that made the crystalline walls of the throne room vibrate. Jack didn't think. His body moved on instinct, centuries of human evolution screaming at him to protect. He threw himself in front of Princess Emma, just as the superheated energy struck his chest. The impact felt like being hit by a star-going supernova. Jack's vision went white, then red, then an expanding darkness that promised peace. He heard Emma scream his name as he crumpled to the polished floor, the smell of his own burned flesh filling his nostrils. Jack! No! Emma's voice cracked with anguish as she dropped beside him, her violet hands already glowing with healing energy. But even she, with all her royal Xantharian powers, knew it was useless. The blast had burned straight through his torso. No being in the known galaxy could survive such a wound. King Varenus rose from his throne, his four eyes wide with shock. Around the room, the royal guards had already neutralized the assassin, a Krelthic mercenary now lying stunned on the floor. But the damage was done. The human, Jack Morrison, diplomatic attaché from Earth and personal bodyguard to the princess, was dying. What? Queen Salera whispered, her melodious voice trembling. Why would he sacrifice himself? Humans are so fragile. He knew he couldn't survive. Emma cradled Jack's head in her lap, tears streaming down her face. In the 6 months since Jack had arrived as part of the Earth-Xantharian alliance, he had become more than just her protector. He was her friend, her confidant, the first being who had ever treated her as Emma, not just Princess Emma of the 7th house. "Stay with me," she pleaded, even as Jack's eyes began to glaze over. "Please, Jack, don't leave me." Jack tried to speak, but only blood bubbled from his lips. His hand, which had been reaching for hers, fell limp. The throne room fell silent except for Emma's sobbing. Then Jack's eyes snapped open. They weren't the warm brown eyes Emma knew. They glowed with an eerie blue light, like the core of a fusion reactor. His entire body began to emanate heat, so intense that Emma had to pull back. The massive hole in his chest, which should have killed him instantly, began to smoke. "Impossible," King Varenus breathed, leaning forward on his throne. Jack's back arched as something fundamental shifted within him. The royal physicians had studied human biology when the alliance was formed. They knew about the strange redundancies in human systems, the unusual ability to survive injuries that would kill most species. They knew about adrenaline, about the human immune system, about the way human bodies could adapt to hostile environments. But this was something else entirely. Steam rose from Jack's wound as his flesh began to knit together before their eyes. Not with the slow regeneration of Xantharian healing magic, but with brutal, relentless efficiency. His cells were multiplying at an impossible rate, cannibalizing nearby tissue to rebuild what was destroyed, operating on pure survival instinct. The fight-or-flight response, the royal physician stammered, his instruments beeping wildly as they tried to make sense of the readings. But this is orders of magnitude beyond anything documented. His body is converting everything, fat, muscle, even bone marrow, into fuel for regeneration. Jack's eyes locked onto the assassin, still stunned on the floor. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse, barely recognizable. "Emma, safe. I'm safe," she whispered, both terrified and amazed. "You saved me." Jack nodded once, and the blue glow in his eyes began to fade. The regeneration slowed, leaving him with a massive scar across his chest, but no longer actively dying. He slumped back onto the floor, breathing heavily, his body having burned through every reserve it possessed. Queen Salera descended from her throne, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "How? We've studied your species extensively. This level of regeneration isn't possible for humans." Jack managed a weak smile. "Not normally. But humans have something you guys don't understand yet." He coughed, wincing. "We're stubborn. When we decide someone's worth protecting, when we decide we're not done yet, our bodies listen. Evolution gave us the tools. Willpower lets us use them in ways that shouldn't be possible." Commander Zrath of the Royal Guard stepped forward, his mandibles clicking in respect. "I have fought alongside warriors from 100 species. I have never seen anything like this." The human was clinically dead for 17 seconds. "Our instruments confirmed it." "Yeah, well," Jack wheezed. "Death and I had a conversation. I told it to wait. I had unfinished business." Emma knelt beside him again, her healing magic now flowing over him, accelerating the final stages of his recovery. You idiot. You beautiful, reckless idiot. Why would you do that? Jack met her eyes, the blue glow completely gone now, replaced with his familiar warm brown. Because you asked me once what humans value most. Remember? Emma nodded, recalling their conversation 3 months ago in the royal gardens. I told you, each other. When a human decides someone matters, really matters, there's no force in the universe that can make us abandon them. Not fear, not pain, not even death. He managed to sit up slightly, supported by her magic. You matter, Emma. Simple as that. King Varenus stood and walked to Jack, towering over the human. For a long moment, he simply stared. Then, slowly, he performed the Xantharian gesture of deepest respect, lowering his massive frame to one knee before the wounded human. The Council of Worlds has long debated why Earth should have a seat at the galactic table despite your species' short time among the stars, the king said. Today, you have answered that question definitively. Humans possess something we have lost in our millennia of civilization, the absolute, unshakable commitment to protect what they love, even at the cost of their own lives. He rose and extended his hand to Jack. You have my oath, Jack Morrison of Earth. You are now and forever honored among the Xantharian people. And more than that, you are family. Jack took the king's hand and pulled himself to his feet, swaying slightly. Emma steadied him, and he smiled at her. Just doing my job, Your Majesty, he said. But as Emma looked into his eyes, she knew it was more than that. It always had been. Across the galaxy, word would spread of the human who had died protecting an alien princess and then simply refused to stay dead. The story would become legend, proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their tactics, that IT was their unbreakable will to protect those they cared about. And that was something worth building an alliance on.